Welcome all to this webinar on finding your purpose as a light worker. Thank you for being on this, and this is also being recorded for those of you who can't make it. I'll be sharing this on my website and through my mailing list. So this is probably my favorite subject, talking about light workers, because this is my journey as a light worker stepping up, and now I have found myself in a supportive space to help other light workers step up. So let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know, my name is Sriharan, and I'm a light worker. I'll share my story first because this will help you understand who I am and why I'm directing this particular type of work and why I feel it's so necessary right now on the planet. My journey essentially has been in lots of different phases, and I had around 15 years of depression, which I came out of. And that's a long story in itself. I have podcasts you can listen to about that and about my journey. After that, I set up the London College of Spirituality, which incredibly just generated so many people, brought so many people together. And we've got over 15,000 people in the group right now. What it showed to me was how many light workers are in a city like London. Now, if this was happening in this small corner of our little universe on planet Earth, what is happening everywhere else? Of course, there is a massive ascension that's happening right now on the planet, which I'll speak about shortly. And so during this time, for about 10 years, I was holding space for others, beautiful light workers coming in from wherever they were to step up and offer their work. And it was incredible watching this, experiencing this, and feeling that development, for myself, and seeing that this shift was literally taking place. Yet during this time, I had this inner feeling, this little voice saying, Baz, you need to share something. You need to do something. And I had a lot of fear. As much as that voice comes up and says that you can do something, I had a lot of fears around, am I worthy? Who wants to listen to my message? What can I even do? And a lot of these themes, which I find are very common to light workers now, something that I had to experience for many years, a lot of the pitfalls, the struggles, the hurdles. And eventually what happened, to bring a long story short, but essentially this whole story which I'm telling you, my journey, is actually your journey, is everyone's journey when it comes to the Lightworkers journey. And for me, it's the hero's journey. It's the journey of finding ourselves. It's a journey of discovering what we have within us and realizing we have been implanted with gifts before we've even come onto the planet that are waiting to be uncovered at any given moment to then relay to humanity, to the world. And I went through a lot of processes, learned a lot, and now today I am running workshops, retreats around the world. I've written a book, and it's amazing now to be in a place now that I would never even, dream of from that point. So it was a dream, yet it's become a reality. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because the only difference between me and you, with anyone, all of us, is, for me, my personal opinion, is a willingness to experiment. Because we all have this within us. We just have to be willing to experiment, to try, to move forward. And once we do that, we'll be amazed at what we start to deliver. Because right now, there is a massive need for light workers on the planet. So it's you expressing your divine purpose, your divine mission, your expression, your joy, and living it, and actually earning from it, being fulfilled from it in all areas. And it may seem like a dream, but this is what's happening. We're actually breaking out of the dream into a reality which shows us that this is the foundation of this new consciousness, that you can live your joy, express it, and you can create these ripples that go out across humanity. And so one of the things I want to speak about at the beginning is this concept of what I refer to as the ascension, or the paradigm shift, which is what we're in right now. Okay, so right now, you may be familiar with these terms already. This is the time right now on the planet where everything is shifting. There is a new consciousness birthing. And during this time, this transition zone from thousands, millions of years that's led up to this point, humanity is reaching a dimensional barrier. We're moving into a whole new dimensional way of thinking, feeling, experiencing, and spiritually connecting. And in order for that transition to be completed, there are souls that are needed to anchor this new frequency, this new consciousness onto the planet. And the way this new consciousness is brought through is through the individual soul expressing their gifts, essentially their soul mission. So your soul mission, your soul purpose, your soul divine blueprint, essentially is something that is already within you, that has been given to you before you've come onto the planet. And all of the experiences that you've had are perfectly designed to support that soul blueprint. Now, some may say that the soul blueprint is dormant until it becomes activated. In some ways, I actually believe that it's always active. And there are various levels of activation that happens with the soul blueprint, because I believe it's a soul blueprint that actually stirs us to have our initial awakening, because there's something within that's feeling that calling. And you'll often hear that phrase, you hear the call, do you hear the calling? Because it's coming from within. It's coming from within your consciousness, within your body. And it's reminding you that you are here for a reason. You are here for a purpose. You have gifts to share. The whole essence of why we're given gifts is not to hold on to them, it's to give them out to others. And so we're seeing this in a tangible level right now. All across the planet, you're seeing Lightworker step up, being activated. So the soul blueprint is being activated on a deeper level. And so many things activated right now. As you're listening, it's activating your soul blueprint on another level. So the more that we speak to it, because I'm speaking to you on that soul level, the more that you start to stir and remember who you are. And this is what Spirit really showed me around these times, is that there are many souls who are lost around what their divine purpose is, what they're meant to be doing, and also afraid of taking it out there. Essentially what I experienced myself and how I help so many light workers now through my training program, and how I assist them into embodying it and taking it further. So I'll share more about the program later on, but I want to really dive into this webinar around this theme of what is my purpose, and really starting to activate that fire within you, that timeless fire that is carrying these codes, these frequencies, these energies, these gifts to give out to humanity. So what kind of life purpose can we have? You know, the amazing thing about the times that we live in is that you can have a light worker purpose, a life purpose, a career that involves dancing, singing, music, art, healing, coaching, assisting people, holding space, running retreats. There are so many different ways of assisting and supporting right now. And it's really the most amazing thing that I'm witnessing with light workers, is that the moment you start activating, supporting and encouraging that process, all of these other unique abilities starts to come through, because you're here as an integrator. So many of you maybe have been exploring many different themes, you know, doing your own healing work on yourself to grow as a person. And you're also exploring many, perhaps, workshops, you're reading books, you're watching videos. All of this is being absorbed on some level, but it's also triggering and touching upon elements within you that are awakening something. And as those elements are awakened, we start to integrate. Because right now, this integration is really essential, because you are here bringing a unique energy to the planet. And once we start to understand the role of the light worker, we start to really appreciate that it isn't about us. This mission, this gift, this expression that you have to give to the planet is so unique and so needed by the rest of us, that it creates these ripples that are perfectly designed with all the other ripples that all of us are creating, wherever we are. And forget about how big or small it is. It's really about that frequency that is being sent out. Because once that starts to spread, consciousness shifts, mass consciousness shifts, and everything shifts because of it. The reason we're having such a huge shift in the ascension in spirituality around all over the world is because people are awakening to their divinity. And there are many, many, many souls who are now taking that out to share with others their expression, their message. You have a message. And that message doesn't need to just be in words. It can be through art, through music, through expression, through any way, through a project. It's really about drawing in from that divine inspiration which you have, which you're connected with, yet society hasn't taught us how to work with it. And so often we think that we're clouded, or we don't have our connection, or we don't know where to look. The amazing thing about our lives is that everything has a design, which I'll go deeper in, because this helps us understand what spirit, your spirit, has been guiding, designing for you, and why. So depending on where you come from, you may be working in a job that you don't particularly enjoy, and you're contemplating your purpose here, what you can give to the world. Or you've been exploring your light work for many years, and perhaps you're lost, perhaps you're confused, perhaps you don't know how to direct it, perhaps there's so many ideas out there, which there are, on what it is that you can bring to the world. And yet deep down you can feel in your bones, you can feel in your soul that something is calling. This is the part to keep recognizing, okay, that there's something calling within, because that will help you keep strong with this essence as you move forward. So let's get into the gist of this. What am I here to do, right? For me, this is a continual refinement process. And once we understand that, we can allow ourselves to continuously come back to it. Because one of the things I found, whether you are just starting the path or whether you've been on for 20 years, unless there's that refinement process continuously happening, we're not in tune with the higher consciousness, with that stream of consciousness, which is informing us, guiding us what to do. And when we start to listen and work with that flow, our lives become incredibly synchronistic. We start to attract, magnetize towards us the kind of life and experiences and support that we need to help us move forward. So for me, I've been blessed and fortunate to have a gift of seeing people's potential. And it's something that I didn't even understand that I had, because it was so natural that when I meet people and when they open their heart and they start speaking, I can see their potential of what it is that they're here to bring. And throughout my time at the college, it became so frustrating seeing that in people. And I used to see volunteers, audience members, participants coming in. So apart from the facilitators, the speakers, the ones who were coming in, and I could see that there was so much potential that was untapped. And many souls didn't even realize that they even had this potential within them. And this is the thing, we are all exuding our potential at all times. And so as they came through, I was assisting them through that process to step up. And many are just flying with their light work right now out there in the world, because there is so much that we can do in this moment. In any given moment, you're able to deliver work to the world, light work to the world, assist and support. Think of it in this way. Think of a friend or somebody in your life that you've had a conversation with to help them through some trying times, right? I'm sure we've all done that at some point. That moment of you being able to assist and support another being already shows your ability to support people in general. Now let's expand that beyond the friend. Let's expand that beyond the people that you know, and start to recognize that you already have a gift of being able to be supportive. This is actually such a common gift, yet is so needed, as you can imagine, during these times, as humanity is awakening and discovering what it is that they need to, what is happening to them. So many spaces are needed to be held. We actually do not have enough light workers stepping up on the planet right now, as you can imagine, because most of humanity is moving through that transition process and needs that support. And so as people came through with the college, what I noticed that as soon as you give a loving, supportive, encouraging energy for people, magic happens. And perhaps we don't really have this in our lives. We're not really nurtured and nourished for our gifts, for the gifts that society doesn't deem is necessary. Okay, all of these gifts which actually are the most necessary. And perhaps society discards it as something too playful or too joyful or just not relevant to its confinement. But actually, those natural gifts that you have within you, once they're really encouraged and allowed to be brought to the surface, you realize, wow, I've actually got so many gifts within me already in this moment that has been designed by my soul. And this includes your passions and your insecurities. This is the magic about who we are. Your insecurities are also driving you in a positive way because they help you make decisions. I'll give you an example here. The reason that I set up the meetup group, and I will share this, is because I was insecure of not having a group of people around me to speak with, to communicate with. And so with that passion of wanting to connect, with that insecurity of feeling alone, I could have gone in and done deep inner work to just keep trying to fulfill myself of my loneliness, perhaps. But it's also there as a trigger point, as a treasure. Everything in our life is training. This is one of the most common things that you'll find. Most light workers have some form of trauma in their life. So the trauma that we have in our life, in whichever varying degrees, for me, is the training. For me, my training was the depression. And then I had many, many dark nights of the soul. You know, they say you can only have one. But so I'm sure you know, if you've been through many experiences, you can actually have quite a few. Those experiences, they were all training me, because your life is that kind of training ground. Yet if we don't understand what's going on, if we don't understand and know how to put the pieces of the puzzle together, we can kind of feel lost. And this is what happened to me and many light workers that I work with, is that we get lost in that process because we don't even know where the process is. But this is essentially the, you know, how support works. When you're supporting others with what you'll be doing, no doubt, assisting others in whatever it is that you're bringing to the world, as well as they needing support, you need support as well. Everyone needs support at some point or another, or at some level. And this is now my default. So I've always made sure that I have my own support of people helping me as well as I work to help other light workers. So in order to find your life purpose, one of the things that I work with is reflection. So if you're familiar with my book, Infinite Being, or any of my writings, you can go to my website, 𝗏𝗚𝗱𝗏𝗏.com. You can find out more about the concept of reflection, or a lot of spiritual books talk about this as well. Essentially is that we have a dynamic relationship between our outer reality and our inner world. And so this is what I use as the roadmap to find out what each soul is here to do. Because in your life, you have set up guideposts. You've set up all of the different experiences, and they may seem so irrelevant to what you're doing right now. Or you may have also look at it as, you know, I made a mistake going to that job or doing this. All of it is relevant. When I was working in 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗏, I actually worked in a job where I was just doing data entry for about 3 years. And I was thinking, in that job, what am I doing? I'm just wasting my life. What actually happened during that time is that I became a touch typist, because I was just trying to finish my work as fast as possible so I could take a longer lunch break. But essentially, that skill became so essential when I was setting up the meetup, because I was doing it all on my own. And I set up so many different systems because I became good at computers in that way. So there's always these lineages of streams which high consciousness knows exactly what's going on. The more and more you're open to this, the more open you are to your own experiences. And so for me, the Lightworker journey is such a deep healing journey. As well as you taking your gifts out to the world, you're also coming to peace and falling in love with who you are, your experiences, how you see yourself, your insecurities, your passions, all of it. It's like, it's really asking us to meet who we are in this moment. And that's such a beautiful thing, you know. So for me, doing the light work, and this is one of the things which comes in so often, is, am I ready? Am I ready to do the light work? This is the problem that I had. Because when you keep having that question of, am I ready? What are we really waiting for? What tells us that we're ready? In some ways, are we waiting for the universe to give us a certificate to say, yes, you're ready, give us a tick? That will never come. That will never happen. Or maybe we're waiting for somebody else to say, we're ready. If that's the case, then I will say to you, you're ready. Because the moment that you even wonder about your light work, you're ready. You're ready for something. You're ready to take out something that you have already in this moment to the world. And so one of the things I find that people ask is, perhaps I haven't done enough training to step out. And so this is the thing, once you start looking at your life as the roadmap, I'm going to give you an exercise here. It's more like homework to do, because you can do this afterwards to help you find out what your purpose is. So I'm going to give you some practical tools here. But essentially, once you understand that everything in your life has some kind of meaning within your life, you can start to explore using that reflection to understand that it is showing you something. It is constantly, gently nudging you to show you that this is something that you can do. This is something that you can offer. This is something that you can start with. And then others think that, often say, I've done so many trainings, I've done so many workshops, and there is a sabotage cycle where you can keep going into those kind of workshops, become a workshop junkie, and not end up giving your light work, not end up expressing. From my point of view, there's never enough trainings that we can do. I don't think there's too much, but the issue becomes when we don't apply that training. If you've done 4 yoga training courses, or you've done lots of different healing courses, but if it's not being applied, being taken out to the world, then yes, then there becomes an issue there. So there's a balance that happens here when we're working with our light worker to be aware of. So in my program, I go into much more specific detail on how to fine-tune your purpose and deliver that through. But I wanted to give you tools and techniques for those of you listening on the webinar, so you can actually begin that process yourself and start to understand what's happening within you. So who inspires you? Who in the world inspires you? This is some homework to do, not something to do within about 5 minutes, okay? Spend some time with it. Start to explore this in your life. Who is it in the world that inspires you? What are they doing? How are they presenting themselves? What is drawing you to their presence? Because as you start to explore this, you're going to start drawing out some other themes, such as, are they on stage speaking? Do you see yourself on stage speaking? So explore that. Explore who is it that inspires you, because that passion of who that within you that is drawn to that individual is a resonance. So we're always working with resonance. That's your soul showing you, okay, this is something that is really calling me. Something about that energy. It may not even be a particular skill that you embody. Maybe that's outside of something that you do, or maybe it is. Just start to monitor that, especially over the next week, because as you're hearing these words, your subconscious is starting to activate and starting to explore and open up to something deeper. And with the next part of this exercise, and this is really powerful, who is triggering you? Maybe you're going to a workshop and the facilitator is triggering you. Maybe you're listening to someone and they're triggering you. Maybe I'm triggering you. It comes down to, when we get triggered, what's happening is I noticed this as I was on the path of stepping up, and I wasn't allowing myself to step up, was that I was being drawn to people, but I was also getting triggered because I wasn't able to step up. And so we're always drawn by our triggering is an amazing tool of showing us what's calling from within. So jealousy, triggering, these are beautiful things actually, because they show us what we want. We may be seeing somebody in their power, and it's triggering us because our own power is calling to be activated. So these are real signs that you're strongly starting to want to be seen, wanting to show up. And within that, you can go into this much deeper, and I do this with light workers, but you can actually find within the triggerings, you can actually find what's also calling you, because there's passions within there. And you can explore these two elements, right, of inspiration and triggering show us so much. That's in all parts of our life. When it comes to healing any part of our life, what inspires you, what is triggering you, the light and the dark, essentially, okay? And so one of the things I wanted to speak here is that, when it comes to finding your life purpose, your light work, it is often thought that we'll find one thing and we'll stay with it. Yet this isn't often the case, because our life purpose is always changing. And for me, it isn't actually about finding one thing at the beginning. That's the other way around. You start with the general and you become more specific. become general at the beginning, be general with your ideas, be general with what you're working with. And the specific naturally arises as you start taking steps and doing your light work. I only discovered about myself once I started running workshops, once I started doing healing, once I started doing experiences. Because then I discovered in that moment what it felt like. Is this something that's really working for me? Is it, what else is calling? The moment you open that door, everything changes. But when we're trying to figure it out up there, it's just a mental way of experiencing reality. The real life of expressing your gifts is the tangible action that needs to be taken. And this is what I generally work with Lightworkers. It's taking things into tangible action. And it's often, for me, it's actually missing completely in our society. Of course it is. Because, excuse me, we're not given the tangible action support system to take our gifts into the world. To actually live your joy. Can you imagine how incredible that is to do? I wouldn't have believed it 15 years ago that it was even possible. Because our society isn't really putting out that message. It's putting out a very different message that life is suffering, it's struggle, and it's impractical to be earning from joyful things. But the new consciousness of where we're going, that it is essential that you're living your joy, because we need your joy. We need you to embody that joy, that passion that you have to be in service. And essentially, this is what a light worker is. For me, in any case, a light worker is the soul who is in service to the whole. And there's so many ways that you can assist and support. And when you're doing that work and you're being fulfilled by it, we start to tap into magic. We start to tap into these unseen realms of working with spirit, with synchronicity, with magic, with miracles, because spirit is waiting to help, of course, because the moment you start being in service, and this is what I noticed in such an incredible way, the whole universe comes in and starts supporting, because essentially you are becoming part of the universe. You're becoming part of the whole, which for me, that's what service is. We're actually recognizing, appreciating that we're not just here on our own, we're here as part of everything. So there becomes a passion to want to give. There becomes a passion of wanting to serve. And of course, that has to be equal, because one of the things that comes up of, when you're really starting this work is procrastination, playing it small, issues with money, issues with being seen, expressing. There's a lot of themes that we need to heal around that as light workers, and coming together and feeling supported with that and actually moving through that. But essentially with this webinar, what I wanted to speak about in this time that we have together is just to know that if you're listening to this, something is calling you on a deeper level than it was the moment before you started listening. Because this is how it works. This is how an activation works. This is how our soul brings in experiences in our outer reality to show us that we're now ready to go deeper. To go deeper is scary. Let me tell you, as a light worker myself, one of the biggest illusions that I had was that in order to be somebody's service, I had to be sorted. I had to be healed. I had to be almost enlightened. And that's one of the biggest illusions. All light workers are healing themselves, are still in the healing process. There is no difference. The only difference is they have chosen to be of service at the same time whilst they're healing. Because what happens is you start to do this work, you start to activate another part of you that is more knowing, it's deeper. And it knows what to do in those moments when you're giving an experience or a talk or holding space or working with a client or working with your art or music, whatever it is, you tap into that. And then you almost return to being human. But that part is changing everything, because that's the part that is reminding us of our power, reminding you that you have limitless opportunities and options, that abundance is a real state of reality. Scarcity is the illusion which we are breaking out of. And so we need to really look at all of those themes that we have that are preventing us from moving forward. And we're all working with that continuously. So I'm going to have more webinars, but I just wanted to share with you just about my Lightworker program for those of you interested. But essentially my program, I work with people around the world to step up and embrace the destiny. And essentially what that is for me is I'm passionate about what I do because I literally witnessed the transformation of souls to take their gifts and even recognize that they have so many more gifts, take it out to the world, deliver it, and actually start to see it being received. There's something so fulfilling about having your message received that your soul feels relieved, actually, because it's been carrying it for so long. So for me, the key to bring the light work through is through the application of it. And that's essentially how I work with light workers. There's a refinement process of refining what it is that you're here to do, bringing it into something clear, concise that you are working with, but essentially working with that general energy, first of all, and starting that work. Because as we're supported in that process, when you're supported and receiving loving, kind guidance, and also being pushed beyond your comfort zones, which is essential, that's how we start to find out that we actually are all confident. I truly believe every soul is confident. There is an illusion that we are shy. I used to tell myself this over and over and over. There's an illusion that we're powerless, that we're unworthy. There's an illusion that we don't have anything to really give to the world. Nothing could be further from the truth. There's so much within. In fact, there's so much that we have to find a way of actually channeling it out with some pace to bring it out. And this is what starts to happen. You start to erupt this incredible energy that's been waiting and waiting to be delivered. But there's always the right time. This is one thing I'll always say. There is always divine timing of when that's meant to happen. Yet if your soul is calling and asking and yearning, there does become a free will choice moment that you will have to take that is uncomfortable, where you have to say, look, I'm going to make a change because I have to, because it's been going on for too long. How long will you wait before you make that change? That's what we have to bring in if we really want to, if we really actually genuinely want to experience that.